Good morning. Today we'll start a new poem from the same textbook, Flamingo. The title of the poem is An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. And the poem is written by Stephen Spander. So before we read the poem or move on to the actual lesson, let us do a pre-reading. As I have been telling you now and then, pre-reading is very important for us to understand anything or to help us or enhance our reading comprehension. And today I'm going to discuss a very useful comprehension strategy that is called SQR, comprehension strategy. So if you use this strategy for any kind of reading, then it will be very helpful for you to comprehend or understand any kind of text. So why is a pre-reading important? So pre-reading is like, in a journey, if you want to take a journey, we have to reach a destination. To reach that destination, it is important for us to have a concrete direction. Without the direction, it is not possible, or you can say difficult for us to reach that destination. So when it comes to reading, what is that destination in that journey? The destination is comprehension, right? To comprehend or understand what we read. And what is that direction? That direction is the strategies that we use to comprehend or make meaning out of what we read. So today what we are going to discuss here is a kind of direction that will lead us to a better understanding. And that direction is called SQR. Comprehension strategy, or it is also nowadays called SQRR, comprehension strategy. So if you use this as the direction to follow, then you will reach that destination. Like in a journey, if you want to go to some place, certain place, if you have a correct direction, then it is easier for you to reach. So that's this SQR comprehension strategy is like that direction. Now let us discuss what is SQR strategy. Okay, here S stands for survey or scheme. What does survey or scheme refer to? So in this, what we do is, before we jump on to reading the text, what we need to do is, we need to take a little time, maybe 5 to 6 minutes, to read the title, headings, subheadings, and any other outstanding features such as figures or pictures. Look at these and try to think what these are telling us. If you do this, then it will give you a concrete direction to move forward in your reading. So most of the times what we do is we straight away move on to the main text. And as we read the main text, it becomes a bit of difficult for us to make meaning out of what we are reading. But if you spend a little time to survey or scheme what is being told by the title, headings, the pictures, and all these things, it will greatly help us in making comprehensions out of what we are reading. So this is important, survey or scheme. This is what it says. So you can use this not only in reading English textbooks, you can use this for any other reading material. For example, even if you are reading a newspaper, the first thing that you should do is read the headline and try to guess what the writer is trying to say. And the next is question. Q stands for question. Okay, so here, after looking at the titles, the pictures, and other important features that you see, what you should do is ask questions, generate questions about the content of the reading, okay? For example, convert headings and subheadings into questions and look for answers in the content of the text. So if you look at the title, try to ask questions. What is the title trying to say? By reading the title, what is the writer trying to tell us? So like that, you can generate or make questions by using your own ideas or imagination. And after that, as you read, when you move on to the next step, you should try to look for answers to these questions. So the next step is read. Okay, R stands for read. So use the background work done with S, survey, and Q, question, in order to read actively. So if you do this, if you follow this, then your reading becomes active. It is not passive. Your reading is active because now you are following a correct path or correct direction towards the understanding. Your reading is more meaningful. You can make more meanings out of what you read or see. Okay, so reading is not just looking at the words. Reading is making meaning out of what you see with your eyes. So if you have a concrete direction, then it becomes much easier for you to make meaning out of what you read. Okay, so here when you read, as I said, try to find answers for those questions that you have framed when you looked at the titles, the subheadings, the pictures, and any other prominent features that are given, items given before you read. Okay, and then I said the strategy is also called SQRR. First R is here. The remaining two R's I have not given here. But still, if you wish to know, the second R refers to review or recite. Okay, so here what you do is whatever you have done earlier, for example, the questions and this, then you review them. Not review, it's recite or recall. Recite or recall. Then you try to remember what you have taught or done earlier, and you try to recall those by orally or in the written form. You can try to write answers so that you will see whether those answers correspond to what you read in the text, or orally you try to repeat what you have taught. And the last R, the third R, stands for recall. Okay, so recall is like a revision. You go back and try to remember what you have done. So this is the strategy. It's a very good strategy which you can use for any form of reading. Okay, now we are going to use this strategy for reading the poem that we are going to do together. And the poem is this: an elementary school classroom in a slum. Okay, and this is the picture of the textbook. This is how it appears in your textbook. So as we have said, so what we see here is a picture of a flamingo, which stands for the name of the textbook. Our textbook is called Flamingo. And then there is a satchel, a bag, school bag. Okay, and now let us look at the title: an elementary school classroom in a slum. So the most prominent, if we study the title, the most prominent word is slum. There's a slum, and in that school there is a classroom. So now if we look at this word slum, what image comes into your mind? So you will study like this: slum. What are the words that you will use to describe a slum? You can think of many words. If I give you few examples, slum is usually dirty. Slum is usually congested, crowded. Slum is usually poor in sanitation. There is lack of sanitation and proper drainage. Okay, and whenever we think of slum, we usually think of poor people. So we get this idea from the title. So the poem is going to talk about all these things. Okay, and the next question we can form is, how would a classroom in a slum differ from that in a city? So because the title says an elementary school classroom in a slum. So there is a classroom, school in a slum. But would that classroom be different from a normal school in a city or a town? So these are the questions that we can frame from the title. Okay, so by spending few minutes here studying about the title, it will lead us to a better understanding. And then if we look at this portion here about the poet, then it also gives us a little bit information about the poet. Okay, we'll talk about this. As it is a bit small here, I have enlarged it in the next slide. Okay, so here also we have this, before we move on to the poet, we also have this picture in your textbook. The picture again shows a very humble building, unlike the buildings that we see in cities and towns used as classrooms. So again, from this picture, we will say, how would the classrooms look? Will the classrooms be different from those classrooms in cities and towns? Okay. Will the students be any different from those in the cities? So this is also important. Another question that comes into our mind is, those children are living in slums. Will they be different from the normal students in cities and towns? So this question will also pop up in our mind. Okay, so this is how we use different pictures, titles for us to generate questions, which will lead us to the better understanding of the text. So here what we are doing is we are surveying and we are asking questions. We are using the first two steps of the strategy, survey and question. Okay. Now, this is what I was talking about. We saw that in the textbook, but it's small, so I have enlarged it here. So this is written in the textbook. Stephen Spender was an English poet and an essayist. He left University College, Oxford without taking a degree and went to Berlin in 1930. Spender took a keen interest in politics and declared himself to be a socialist and pacifist. This is important. Again, when we refer to the poet's life, it gives us the impression that he is going to talk about society, social status. Okay? And books by Spender include Poems of Dedication, The Edge of Being, The Creative Element, The Struggle of the Modern, and an autobiography, World Within World. Okay, so now what is important is this color. In an elementary school classroom in a slum, he has concentrated on the themes of social injustice and class inequalities. So what is important for us is again, survey this here. And by reading this, it comes to our mind that in this poem, the poet is going to talk about social injustice and inequalities. That is what we get from surveying. Now we need to ask questions. What are those social injustices? What are those class inequalities? Who are subjected to all these injustice and inequalities? Who are the exploiters? These questions come into our mind in the question section. Okay, so this is how we use the reading strategy, reading comprehension strategy to you can say, for a better understanding of what we want to read. I hope you will use these in any other of your reading activities. Even if you read other textbooks, social science, whatever textbooks you read, use this strategy. Okay, so now we have a writing assignment here. Practice this so that you can improve your writing as well. Your writing expression is important, because sometimes students understand something, but when it comes to transcoding that into written form, it takes a bit of a hard work. So without practice, it is going to be difficult. So practice this. What social injustice and inequalities do you is Spender discussing in this poem? So that is a reflective understanding. It's not mentioned anywhere. What do you think are who do you think are responsible for these injustice and inequalities? So this is the pre-reading that we have done, which is related to the poem. All these will have relation to the poem as we read on. Okay, now we'll move on to the main poem. Okay, stanza 1. Okay, stanza 1 describes the pathetic and miserable condition of children sitting in a classroom in a slum. So stanza 1 starts with a description of the classroom, environment of the classroom. Okay, so let us first look at the first stanza, since it is possible that many of you might not have the textbooks with you. So let us look at the stanza. So the first stanza says, far, far from gusty waves these children's faces, like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their parlor, the tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper-seeming boy with rat's eye, the stunted unlucky air of twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. At back of the dean class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live on a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. So this is the first stanza. And here in the first stanza, as I said, the poet is describing the atmosphere of the classroom. Now let us break this stanza to smaller parts for better understanding and discuss what is he saying. And we'll also discuss the important lines. Okay, so these two lines go together. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their parlor. So what is he saying? Far, far from. Far, far from. In these 3 words, he has used 2 figure of speeches. First is far, far. That is a repetition. And then far, far from is an alliteration. He is repeating the same sounding letter 3 times. Okay, so alliteration and repetition. He says far, far. That word far is repeated twice. Why does he do that? Why does he use the repetition? He uses the repetition to show distance. Okay, distance between the children in the slum school and the children living in cities, the rich children, you can say. Okay, so what he is saying is there is a big gap between the children belonging to rich society and children belonging to poor society. Gusty waves these children's faces. Gusty waves. Again, he has used a figure of speech. So you see he has used 3 important figure of speeches in the first line itself. Gusty waves, here he is using it as a metaphor. Okay, gusty refer to something that is strong, full of energy, leading to enjoyment. So what is he saying is these children are far away from that world of the rich children, which is full of energy, liveliness and joy. These children are far away from that. Okay, like rootless weeds. Here again he has used a figure of speech, like rootless weeds. He is using a simile. The slum children are compared to weeds. Weeds are useless plants, growths in a crop. Okay, so he is saying these children are unwanted in society, like the unwanted plants growing in a garden. The hair torn round their pallor. Pallor means pale face. Their hair is also torn. Here means not combed properly, and it is covering the pale faces of these young children. So what he is saying here is there is a huge gap between the children of the rich society and the children of the poor society. So there is social inequality. Okay, so if we look at this picture, then we'll understand. So these are what he is saying. I've given these notes for you to refer to. These children are far away from the beautiful sights of nature. Gusty waves may also refer to the beautiful sights of nature, which is also full of joy and enjoyment. Okay, they look weak and hungry because their faces are pallor. Pallor here means pale. Okay, so pale face here reflect that they are weak. Why are they weak? Because they are hungry. Their unkept hair look like rootless weeds on their pale faces. As I said, they are the unwanted children in the society. And like that, even their hair is unkept, like the weeds in a garden. Okay. Okay, as I said, here the repetition, the word far is used twice to indicate the distance between the lives of the slum children and the lives of the children living in cities or the rich children. Okay, then there is a simile like rootless weeds refer to the slum children who are unwanted in society, just as weeds are unwanted in a garden. Okay. Now he moves on to the description by describing the children one by one, okay, individually. The tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper-seeming boy with rat's eye, the stunted unlucky heir, his twisted bones, reciting our father's gnawed disease, his lesson from his desk. At back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young. His eyes live in a dream of squirrels' game in tree room other than this. So this is the individual description of the slum children or poor children or the students in the slum school. Okay. So the first student is the girl, is a girl. The first child the poet describes is a girl. How does she look like? She is tall and thin. Okay, she keeps her head down, being burdened by sad thoughts, and she is bending down, maybe due to weakness, physical weakness, or maybe her mind is burdened by the thought of sadness. Her life is filled with sadness. So because of that, she does not have the confidence to raise up her head, and her head is bent down. The girl is perhaps physically and mentally exhausted due to her poverty. Okay, so the burden of poverty weighs heavy on her. So because of that, he bends down. Okay, next child is a boy sitting in the classroom. Is as thin as paper, undoubtedly because of malnutrition. So this boy, the second boy, is as thin as paper. There is a beautiful use of a metaphor. Okay, sorry, simile, because this is a simile because he says as thin as. But in the poem itself, it is used as a metaphor. Paper-seeming boy. He says paper-seeming boy. That is a metaphor. What is he saying is the boy is so thin that it looks like a thin paper. Okay, so the poet has used a metaphor there. Okay, he is very thin. Why? Because of malnutrition. He has big eyes like those of a rat. Okay, again this might be symbolic. Okay, as he is very thin, his eyes appear big like that of a rat. Or symbolically, it can also mean that the boy, even though is very thin and malnutritious, he is as same as any other child, with so much of inquisitiveness and urge to learn new things. That could be also symbolized by that big eye. Okay, figure of speech used is metaphor. The paper thin boy is directly compared to paper. This is indirectly compared to papers. Okay. The third child is a boy. Yet another boy has inherited his father's arthritis. He is also called the unfortunate boy. Why? Because it is very ironical that he has inherited something from his father. But that inheritance is not riches, not name, like rich children get from their parents. What did he receive from his father is his father's disease, arthritis. So if we look at his feet here, it's twisted. Okay, so because of the disease, he has stunted growth. Stunted means stop. His growth has stopped at a certain level, and his bones are twisted due to the disease. Because of the arthritis, his bones have been affected, and it has also affected his growth. He has stopped growing after a certain time. Okay, so maybe he is short, bended down, and his bones are twisted. He is reciting his lesson. Again here the poet is stressing that basically there is a similarity between the children living in poor places and children living in rich places. Like the rich children, he is also eager to learn new things. He is said to be reciting his lesson. So that is no difference, okay? There is no difference between the rich and poor, between the eagerness, the urge to learn something, and the ability also. Both have the ability, okay? The figure of speech used is irony, okay? It is ironical that the poor boy has inherited his father's disease in contrast to the wealth that the rich boys inherit from their fathers, okay? So irony is something that is contrast to something that is contradictory, okay? Usually children inherit or receive wealth, riches, name from their parents. But this poor boy has inherited his father's disease. Okay, next boy is this. There is another sweet boy sitting at the back of the class. So this sweet boy is sitting at the back of the class. Okay, he is sitting there unnoticed. It is difficult for the poet to notice the boy because he is sitting at the back and very quietly, and he is dreaming about dreaming of the schools playing in the tree. He is sitting quietly. Why? Because he is daydreaming. What is he daydreaming? Daydreaming of the schools that are playing on the trees. Okay, so why is he having this daydream? Why is he thinking about the squirrel? Because the dull and monotonous atmosphere in the classroom is perhaps unable to arrest his attention. Again, maybe this is similar to common to all the children. Children have usually very short span of attention. So he is dreaming about the squirrel because his attention is not maintained by the monotonous same atmosphere in the classroom. So because of that, he is looking forward to go into the nature and enjoy the beauty of nature, play with the animals like squirrel, or maybe he is longing to be free like the squirrels, go into the nature and be free. So this is what he is thinking about. So we discussed the similarities and the dissimilarities. Okay, next what you will do is do the writing assignment. Answer these questions in 1 lines each, 1 or 2 lines each actually, okay? Who are these children referred to? What have the children been compared to? Why do you think the tall girl is sitting? Why do you think the tall girl is sitting with her head weighed down? Who is referred to as the stunted unlucky heir? Who is sitting at the back of the dean class? What is he dreaming of and why? So try to answer these questions. And thank you. We will continue.